In this video, I'm going to show you our latest silencer for the Crosman 1377 and 1322 and show you how to install it. The silencer itself now is uses this threaded adapter, and this is printed from nylon, PA12 nylon, using multi-jet fusion. Another manufacturer makes this. I use Fictive, and they do a really good job. I have improved the design a bit. I've incorporated a front sight post into it now, so you can still use your open sights, and now you can very easily just thread the silencer on and off and don't have to worry about pushing this pin out and putting it back in all the time. So that's a big plus. And on top of that, if I make any improvements in the future or modifications to this silencer design, all you would need to do is get this cheap ABS 3D printed part, and this never has to leave the gun. You just need to thread the new silencer on, and if it breaks or anything like that, same deal. So that's a big plus as well. I'll go ahead and get on with the installation. The first thing you want to do, obviously, is make sure that the gun's not loaded and on safe. We've already done that. And then the next thing you'll do is remove these two Phillips screws in the pump handle. Set those aside. Remove the pump handle. The next thing you'll need to do is push this pin out here. There's a bunch of different ways to do it, and there's lots of videos and everything out there. I think sometimes this kind of scares people, but it's really not all that bad. I've used a little 3D printed tool in the past, and I still have that, and I still use those, but I get so many questions about that tool. I'm not going to use it in this video. If I do end up selling that tool, I'll probably do a separate video on that. For now, I'm not going to. It's kind of been a customer service nightmare because I used to include them for sale and eventually for free with the silencers, and they would get broken all the time. And it's probably that I need to improve the design, but also there's a really important step that I think would get missed a lot, that you need to release the tension on this pump handle before you go to push this pin out. So anyways, if it's not for sale on the website, then I'm not selling them. Please don't email me about it. I get tons of emails, and it's really hard for me to keep up. The first thing you'll need to do, though, like I said, is you release the pressure on this pump handle, and then you can put a little piece of wood or some sort of block underneath it that lifts it up high enough so that the pin can come out the back without hitting anything. And then you can use a transfer punch that's smaller than the OD of the pin, or I'm just going to use a little nail setter here. It's something that you want to be careful with. You don't want to booger up this roll pin, and it's a pretty notorious feature on this gun. And there's other options out there. If you want to buy a custom part to put in there, there's some really good stuff out there. But it's something that you can just Google and find those. But there's a few manufacturers who make different types of pins. You can even drill it out and put a larger solid pin in there. And then they have some that have threaded screws that screw into both ends, and but I don't know, this one works just fine for my purposes. And this one's starting to get a little bit worn out, so it's probably, if you have a gun that you haven't taken the pin out a lot on, it probably won't be quite so easy for you as it's going to be for me here. But the concept's still the same. You just put something on there with it lifted up off of the table or hanging off the edge of a table, and then you just have to push it out like so. So that came out the other side there. Now you can slide this cap out of the end like that, and you may want to keep that. If you ever wanted to take this off for some reason and put it back on, return it to stock. The next thing you'll do is you will put this cap on like so. It's kind of hard for me to see, so I might have a little difficulty with it. I don't want to put my head over it and block your view. But you'll want to make sure that this hole here and the hole in the tabs of the adapter and the hole in this bottom tube are all aligned before you start to align the pin and punch it back in. Like I said, mine's a little bit loose, so it's a little easier for me. Actually, wow, it's gotten really loose. I can just push that in. The reason it's so loose is because I test all of our silencers, so I'm pushing that pin and taking out a whole lot, and so yeah, I've really worn this one out and beat it up a lot. But anyway, so it's the same idea though. You can prop it up with something. You don't need to prop it up quite so high, and then just hammer it back in with the hammer. Okay. And then next thing you'll do is put the pump handle back on. Line the screw holes. Whenever you're tightening these back, be careful not to over tighten them, because you're tightening them into some pretty thin sheet metal. There's not a whole lot of threads, and you can very easily strip those threads out. But this doesn't work from being screwed in tight. It the screws thread into that little metal bracket, and it just doesn't allow it to move laterally. So you don't have to have this real tight at all. You can just kind of snug them up to make sure that they don't, little by little start to loosen up and come out. But other than that, it does not have to be tight at all. And that's pretty much it. And then the next thing you can do is thread on the silencer or thread on the thread protector. In fact, whenever it comes in the mail, this thread protector is already going to be on. You don't necessarily need to take it off unless you're going to, thread the silencer on, of course. And that just goes on here like this. If you want, you can put a little grease on the threads, but even that's not really necessary. But perhaps it'd give it maybe a little longer life if it's something that you're going to be threading on and off a whole lot. And that is all. Thanks for watching.